All right, there we go. We're live. Hey, folks, how's everybody doing? Hope you're having a great Friday. It is Friday, so let's enjoy this. My cat's on the desk, annoying the living bejesus out of me, looking for attention. I don't know why, but it is what it is. So it's Friday. Let's get some people in here. Let's get our chat on, and let's talk our tanks. What's going on in the reefing world? It's up. If you want to come in and hang out, more than welcome to. I'm up early enough. We should see some of our overseas friends. Yeah. Hey, Jesse, what are you doing, girl? You keep this up, you're going to be on video someday. You know that, right? Yeah. Okay. So, definitely have a few things coming soon. I don't want to give anything away, but definitely some more topic enhancing stuff. There we go. All right. Hopefully, the notifications work correctly and people can get in. That's handy. Jazz, I'll tell you, don't get cats, folks. If you don't mind your personal space being invaded, they make dogs look good. They really do. Come on. All right. So I got my coffee. It's Friday. Come on. Hey, not a problem, Cruz. How you doing today, buddy? If I thought you'd wear a cat cam, I'd put one on you, girl. There we go. All right, then. So she's come up. She's checked out my desk. Apparently, my desk is up to snuff or not, and is now moving on. There, bloody cats. So sorry about the plane stream, but for now, and I've got things in the works today. Hopefully, things work out today, and I can get things on the go. And we're going to take it a step further. I'm going to speak to a few things a little later on today when we get some more people in, and some things that are on the agenda for me and on the horizon for Reefer Madness. Some people that I'm looking into, we'll see. That part's a little different because I want people's permission long before I say anything. But that being said, as always, I'll have Cruz around. I'll have Nick from Aquarium Canvas Solutions around, and lots of other things on the go from there. Good morning to you if you're just tuning in. And my name is Craig. This is Live with Reefer Madness. And let's get to quibbling when we get a few more people on the go, shall we? Link doesn't work? I'll just send it to you direct there, Cruz. You're on the list, man. I'm like the doorman. Hey, Tony, what's going on, Captain? And it's Elegant Corals, Cruz. Not bad, Tony. Not bad. How's your day going, son? Yeah? Yeah? Nice to see you. How you been? Haven't seen you since Monday. Oh, you're at work? Cool. I'm going to explain why you didn't jump in. Oh, you definitely are not fearful of getting on the mic, so to speak. So we'll get a few more in. We'll get a few more things on the go. Yeah. How's the tank doing? How's your brother's tank doing after the Thames incident, we'll call it? Yeah, definitely. Nice lazy Friday. I got a few things I'm fixing up today. Uh, After I'm done streaming today, so about 2 hours or so for now, maybe three at the most. And then, yeah, it's gonna be a day. That's for sure. Like I said, big things coming with Reefer Madness. So and I feel hopeful that people won't miss out, right? Because I'm doing good, guys. Channel's growing. Excellent. That is so good to hear, Tony. I mean, that was, that's a hell of a thing. Yeah. I tell people about that and they're like, "Just tank crash." I'm like, no, actually it didn't. It stayed. It just shows that sometimes, even if you're doing the wrong thing, as long as it isn't, I don't know, for lack of a better word, catastrophic, the tank will recover, That's the way it should be. That's what you can hope for, right? There was a guy yesterday, he's just all kinds of confused. He's new, he's there's too much, almost too much information that he's messing with the stability of his tank. And to get an ammonia spike in a new system now, it weirds me out. You know what I mean? That shouldn't really be an issue anymore. But then you realize, well, what are you doing? He's not doing enough of this, and the link doesn't work. It should be working. What the hell? Oops. You know what, Cruz? Let's try direct out of here. And I'm going to go out and take that one out because I just don't want to hang it around. There we go. And let's go over here. And I'm going to have the shortened one ready to go. Well, you know what? We talked about that, Tony. And my hands are in my tank very little now. But when I first start up my tank, I'm moving this, I'm moving that, I'm doing this. I think it's how you approach putting your hands in the tank, right? If you're never cleaning your fingernails and you're not using vinegar to clean off your arms and making sure that you're contaminant free as much as possible, yeah, I think that's an issue. But if you're careful about what you're doing, I got to flip snails every day. I got to do that. But I think maybe we'll clarify what we mean by hands in the tank. And it's going in to change the rock work every day or mess with the sand every day, or, you're, just doing things you probably don't need to do. I'd agree with that wholeheartedly. If you're in the tank for no reason other than to have your hands in the tank, you're just risking things at that point, right? You could put a bacteria in there that wipes out your bacteria culture. You could, man, there's so many things. Like, I agree. I think I agree and disagree at the same time. I think there's ways to do it that you're not endangering the tank, but most people aren't doing that. They're just sticking their hands in the tank. I don't like where that coral is. I'm going to move it. And it's only been 24 hours. Why the hell are you changing that now? Well, it doesn't look good. Of course it doesn't look good. You just stuck it in your tank, man. Yeah. It's like fish. My fish doesn't look like it's doing good. Well, what's it doing? It's just laying there breathing. Okay. It's not dying. Because if it was dying, you'd know it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's a hard one. That one's rather difficult. And if that one doesn't work, Cruz, try this one. And then if that one doesn't let you in, I don't know what the hell's going on, because it should be working just fine. All right. And that one didn't work. Well, let's try. Love how it's trying to keep you out. And try that one. And the one from the email didn't work? That's what's got me weirded out. That should work just fine. Yeah, so. And I just tried and doesn't want to work. Oh, that crap's going on again. I wonder if. Give me a sec here. That's my YouTube page. I emailed you, Cruz. I'll try again. Give me a sec here. Let's try that. Copy. Let's email Cruz. See, I only used to have that problem with Tim from Tim's Tanks. He used to never be able to get in, and geez, now it's kind of spread. It's almost this weird link disorientation thing. It's like it's not doing what it's supposed to do, which is really weirding me out a little bit. But I may be switching to a different Hangout platform. So I'll still be streaming in here, and we can still talk here, but the link will actually probably be Discord. It's free, and it's a little more stable, and it's a lot easier for people to get into, and gives me a whole lot more control over the stream too. So I'll be working on that today. Like I said, big things in the works. So, and we'll get back to that. Look, my tank's up, or other people's tanks up. I'm working on a couple of things that way, where, like, say, Nick from Aquarium Cabinet Solutions wants to show off something. I can actually post that as the main thing, and still have everything like I do in the front, right? So love my cats, man. They'll whine at my kid's door to get in, and then he'll let them in. They want out within 5 minutes. And it's like, well, they're cats, man. What do you think? You know, they just want to see what you're doing. They're just curious, man. If you left your door open a crack, you'd never hear from them again. Yeah, Tim, I definitely will send you a link, sir. You're sad because you just made it work? I wouldn't be sad, Cruz. No need to be sad. There we go. Link sent to you, Tim. Should be there shortly. And if it isn't, let me know. I'll pirate it out again. They'll both come at once. That seems to be the route. No. All right, boys and girls. There we go. Cruz is in. There's the man. Bam. What was going on? What did you figure out?
Oh, nothing. It was just the one that you emailed me actually worked.
Oh, okay. So the email one still. Go figure, right? You know, I don't like people putting their emails in my chat stream, but I've grabbed enough of them now that I actually have a compiled list of people, right? So, McDonald's. Is it McDonald's? What are you eating? What is it?
Yep, hash brown.
Hash brown. Nothing wrong with a little bit of that.
Nope, not at all. Give me a second. For some reason, it's not. Oh, there it is. Oh. Weird.
Oh, I noticed that too. I had a heck of a time getting that to actually flip and go landscape for me. Yeah. Like I said, I'm not a fan of this. I got plans. I want to make it better for the person that's jumping in with me, and give them more options, right? So. And Timmy.
This is yummy.
You know what's funny with Tim? I've never did my Timmy thing, and I used to do that to anybody named Tim all the time. Timmy! Live it on, Timmy.
Yeah, South Park. Damn it.
That was always the thing.
Yeah, loved it. Uh-oh.
You know, I was thinking the other day, you know, I would have a hell of a laugh if I could get somebody like Trey Parker in here and just let him rip the living crap out of me for doing this. What are you, crazy? You know, just let them just go off like they would go off. That would just be, I wouldn't even care how bad I went. Tim, that should be there shortly. You know, a reefer, when your idea of starting off a good day is 0 phosphates. Yeah, that's one of them. Or how about you go look at your tank? Do you know what's funny, Tim? I haven't even gone and looked at my tanks today. I got up because if I don't have enough coffee in me, I don't want to see something disappointing. That's just heartbreak.
Yep,
you know,
absolutely.
Yeah, let my day get started before you go giving me bad news. That's just common sense and courtesy to yourself. It is.
Yep. Hey, I have to jump out real quick.
Yep, that's okay. It'll be there. You know where the link is. So that is fine. Fine, Captain.
Yeah, Mike wants to talk to me.
Oh, sounds good. Talk to you in a minute.
Yep. So I'll see you soon.
Sounds good. All right. All right. Well, Tim, that link's off to you. I'm going to go grab a coffee, ladies and gents. It'll be dead quiet for a minute. I'll be right back. Or you might hear somebody come in. I've sent a few links, so.
And amen. I am in. Good morning, everybody. I am in. I checked my tank, and I checked the phosphates, and lo and behold, after 3 days with the phosphate RX, my phosphates are 0. Matter of fact, my calcium is 420, and alkalinity is 9.1.
Hey, Tim, how you doing, buddy? Oh, look at that. No. What are you saying no about? Okay. I have someone at the door.
Oh, I'm in now, Craig.
All right, guys, give me a sec. I actually have a physical being at the door. Be right back.
A physical being, okay.
Sorry about that. I totally forgot the guys were coming to fix the buzzers today for the security door. My bad. Just may the 4th be with you all. Yeah. Ha, ha, ha. Tony, you want to give me your... do I have your email, Tony? Give me a sec. Pop your email right quick, Tony. I'll send you a direct link if you want to be able to get in.
I even got your email real fast, Craig. That was amazing.
Yeah, every once in a while, eh?
Yeah. Every once in a while, things go right.
Yeah. It's the way it works, right? So I love how my security door is going to be fixed after 3 years and I'm moving. That's fantastic.
Oh, you're moving? We'll fix the doors.
Yeah, you know what's going on there.
Yeah.
Remove that. And it's fine. It's fine. Okay. Well, there we go. Smart thing. I'll save that right now. There we go. And I'll send that off to you, Tony. You pop in when you can. I know you're at work. Kind of a slow ramp up today. Cruz was in here, but Cruz got a call he's got to make. And now Tim's, yeah. And Tim's one of my guys. He's always in here. Always good for a conversation piece.
Oh, we try.
Yeah, we try. Eh? I try to be entertaining. Sure, we'll see Jeeves at some point. We're all a bunch of late nighters too, right? So.
Well, you guys are. It's 7:30 in the morning here. So.
That's true enough. Yeah, you're 3 hours back on me. So yeah, but I go to bed at midnight. You still got time in your day. It's only 9 o'clock, right?
You listen to O's Thursday evening tech.
Hey,
there's Tony. I listened to a good majority of it yesterday. I thought it was pretty cool. Alex G's setup is immense. To the degree that you have to look around and realize, like we were talking about that the other day, was humidity in the apartment and all that stuff. There you go. Look at the way he's got that set up to keep that humidity in check. Yeah,
that's a huge. Did you see
1,600 gallons? Yeah, the protein skimmer's insane, isn't it?
And he made that. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, exactly. Like some people just take reefing to that next level. You know what I mean? Like. It's insane. It's wonderful, his setup. It really is cool to look at. Yeah. And I thought to myself, you didn't buy a house, you built an aquarium.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, but if that's what you want, that is fabulous. I mean, I can't fault any of it.
No, he seems to have enjoyed the process of building it all, basically all himself.
Yep.
And no, it's great. I admire him for it. I don't have
Absolutely.
any DIY skills. I do not have DIY. I cannot. It's got to be pretty simple, you know. Otherwise, it's just an exercise in frustration for me. So.
Well, and it's not even that it's an exercise in frustration. It's dealing with the problems that are kind of associated with that are even, they're magnified.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Humidity is magnified. The amount of salt you have to buy is magnified. Yeah. The heating you have to do is magnified. It's total. The scope is so large, right? But if you want to do that, then that's your ballywick. That's what you're going to do, right? So you have to kind of look at it from the point of view that, like, it's the same thing with streaming all day. It's why I stopped trying to do these extended streams. One, we can get a lot more done in 2 hours or 3 hours than 8. 8 hours is just putting us at a disadvantage. You know what I mean? It's like there's going to come a point we get the lull in the conversation and we're talking about, our
being in the army. Do you remember that?
Yeah, being in the army, or being, or the things that we've done. And, you sit down and think about it and go, well, and you're going to hear that buzzer in the back because they're trying to fix that contact point, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing about the salt. When he was talking about that much water, and he was talking about, how much electricity cost and all this. I said, damn, how about how much salt costs to keep that thing going?
How much does you? Yeah,
I bet he doesn't do frequent water changes.
I bet you not. I would bet you it's at a level that we'd be like, what, really? But when you're dealing with the volume that much, volume outcompetes that. So he's dosing something. I'm sure he is. In fact, he probably talked about it and I just missed it. But I've seen his setup before. He was in, I forget if it was my stream or, I think it was my stream at one point. And he was just talking about it and he was showing his stuff and he was showing his mantis shrimp. And things like that. And it was just amazing to look at, like,
I'm
really.
Sure we won't be doing the try it method though.
No, probably not. Probably not. And you can't blame them if you can't get a steady supply of something and you have something that big. You can't mess around.
Think about a water change. That's like a bucket of salt for me. Bucket. My God, he'd have to do.
Yeah, he'd have 1 bucket.
1,100 gallons in there. He's got
almost 1,600. I thought. Yeah, close to 1,600 gallons. So it'd be a bucket of salt. Yeah,
exactly
for 1 change.
Oh my God.
And that's literally, you're just freshening the water. You're not even really changing anything out. You're just adding fresh salt water, right? Yeah, amazing. It is amazing setup.
Yeah, talk about, he mentioned this last night too about, the tank that or water volume that size, you got to pay close attention to your parameters because there's slow changes, but once something starts going, you got to get on it fast because you got a hard time adjusting your alkalinity in a.
You'd be forever in a day.
So it's crashing.
Oh, it'd be epically bad. Yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah, epically bad. But you know what? It's no different than the guy with the 20-gallon having a crash, and that it's no different. We all feel the same way. Yeah. For him, it's now the exponential cost of a crash.
The thing is, in a tank like a 20-gallon, you can almost see it coming. A tank that size,
it could be hiding. Yeah, it could be hiding, and you don't see it. Now, mind you, he doesn't strike me as someone that doesn't know almost every little thing that's going on. But complacency would breed contempt in that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it would just be bad if it happened. So
we all say we test. All reefers are lazy to some level.
Oh, I don't. You asked me if I test. I tested last week. I got to test again. Right? Right now, I'm trying to find a better solution for my alkalinity, which is probably just going to be B-ionic, the 2-part.
Yep.
I don't need the magnesium or the calcium side, but what I'll start doing is mixing up a cup and a half, I'll figure out my ratio.
Yeah.
And I don't mind dripping it in, right? I don't need a doser right now, but here's the thing, guys, right? We're going to start doing some production, me and my partner. We were talking about it, and I'm not going to go into too much detail, but
Joe, you're teasing me with this, Craig.
Oh,
you're teasing me with it.
It's going to be...
You've got me by the foreskin.
I know what is going on.
Yeah, he knows a little more.
Don't you start as well.
It's really funny. We were laughing about it because we were talking about cameras, right? And what we're going to try to do is capture things like we know we've seen it because we've been watching my streams. My fox face likes to nip at the sand, and then when he poops, he basically poops clean sand, right? This is what he's doing. So we did this test thing, and I am a guy who likes to make voices, and that I have a pretty adaptable voice, and we started laughing, and basically just put something like he's swimming along, and you see the sand coming out, and you hear. Right, and you see a swim next to him. Just bear down, George. Just bear down. Things like that, right? So we were having a little fun with that. And he went, "Why aren't you doing that?" He said, "Because you're still teaching somebody something, but now you're making it funny."
Yeah.
Right? And I went, "I never thought of that." Right? And we started really spitballing these ideas, and it's like, I'm sure some stuff will come off lame. It's the way it works, right? But we'll throw enough stuff at the wall, something will stick, right? So I'm sitting there thinking about that, and I'm not going into any more detail because
don't do it, Craig. Don't do it.
No,
you've got me by the foreskin again.
Yeah, right by the niggly bit. Right by the
niggly bit. Enough.
But no, it's like there's that. I had two 27-inch monitors donated to me.
Oh, lovely.
So instead, like huge monitor. Like I'm sitting here at my desk going, "Wow, I literally could play a racing game and I could see all the way around me." Right. Now, that power supply is going to get replaced in my main rig, but I also have access to a machine that's 3 times more powerful than my rig. So that's actually going to be running things too. So, and it lets the guy who does the back channel stuff for me, even while he's at work, monitor what's going on.
Yeah.
So he can keep an eye on things and make sure things aren't crashing, right? So... it's how was I saying it? It's like it's funny that every YouTuber ends up with a production team, right?
An entourage,
right? Exactly, right?
Who am I, Craig? Am I just the outspoken one? I can deal with that.
That'd be something like that. Yeah. Actually, you're the one that we're sitting there and we all face palm every time we talk to you, right? What? Oh man,
How's it going, Tony?
Not too bad. How's it going with you, mate?
We're chilling. We're chilling over here. Just got to work.
Oh, so I'm just about to finish.
How jealous we are that you're going to work. Are you going to work at Elegant?
No. Day job.
Your day job.
Day job.
Okay.
Day job.
Yeah.
Hi, Reef.
See, you know how people have reef tanks for a hobby. I have a reef business for a hobby.
Yeah.
You're living the dream, brother. You're living the dream.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, if you want to call a headache a dream, I've got plenty. I've got plenty of dreams.
We were talking about something the other day, Cruz. And it kind of relates to the hobby. And we were talking about the people that are running CO2. And I was reading up on it, just quick, guys, and I profess to not be a professional here. But if you're doing it incorrectly, in other words, you're dosing, you're pushing your CO2 too hard for what you're actually getting out of your concentration, it can lead to some real problems with yourself, let alone your tank. It's like when you're running ozone in a house, right? So like when you're running CO2, it can lead to headaches. It can lead to lethargic behavior, erratic behavior.
Gas is being emitted, isn't it?
Right, it's getting under the tank.
And not only that, but your body starts shutting down.
Yeah.
Right, because you got to think if you're not getting enough
ability to heal is gone.
There we go. I'm going to turn you up a bit.
No. Oh, sorry.
I got you.
Yeah. So basically your body starts shutting down. It loses its ability to heal. A lot of other things too. You start. Your external or your non-essential organs start shutting down.
Yep. Yeah. Especially you're not going to get enough oxygen. You know.
Exactly, especially if you're smoking too during
See,
that time.
I have a theory on the CO2 injection
Okay.
because obviously CO2 is heavier than oxygen, isn't it?
Correct.
And can consume oxygen as well. So people
Well,
that
it'll
don't
force
open,
it out.
people that
force it
don't
out.
open windows or have ventilation, they're starving themselves of oxygen
Oh yeah.
because as the tank is releasing the gases, the CO2 gases, it's also pushing out the oxygen. So you're only technically, it might not cause death, but
It'll cause problems.
It'll cause problems.
Yeah.
It's like we were just saying.
Yeah.
Like, so imagine the tank's doing that on its own anyway. You're not getting any fresh air in the house, right? Hey, Rob.
Yeah.
And now the next thing that happens is you start dosing CO2 because now things are growing. You want to get them the right way. And when you're dosing the CO2, if you do it incorrectly, you are compounding that problem, right? So now there's even more CO2 gas. There's less oxygen in your house. I don't know if you guys are. I know Tim, or not Tim, Raven, does climbing and everything else. I bet you he could talk about hypoxia and the dangers that hypoxia present. Right now, I know as an ex-military, I've been talked to about it, but you're not going to get me to climb a mountain. I don't give a crap. No. I don't need that high a spot. I'll hit you from the ground. Hey, Corey's Reef Tank. When you're dealing with this stuff, so ozone's another one, and Cruz can speak more to it. I'm not as familiar with ozone as I'd like to be, but I know it can lead to one thing that there was a study is pulmonary embolisms, because it can do it the other way to you and over oxygenate you and cause problems. So
the gases are absorbed into your actual bloodstream.
Into your actual bloodstream, right? So you got to when we play with our fish tanks and we're talking about dosing, and I'll kind of come on to another point. I think it was TMG, or I may be misquoting, but somebody was talking about they got it on their hand, the reagents for the test kit, that was burnt. That was you. There we go. And it was burning them, right? And I said, well, yeah, they're chemicals. You should be wearing gloves. How many of us wear gloves when we're doing our tests? Probably next to none.
Every time, all the time.
You do.
Yeah, we do. We have natural gloves, especially when we're cutting pallies and zoas and acros.
Yeah, exactly. The safety things that are involved. Like, people think it's a fish tank. It can't hurt me, and it's like, well, I beg to differ. And Steve Rodder's a good example. He got an MRSA staph infection after he cut his hand in his reef tank.
I have a bit of a funny story with this.
Go ahead.
Do you know the powder you get with the Salifert magnesium kit?
Yep.
I was eating sherbet at the same time while testing a couple of years ago, and I ingested that. I burnt all my stomach lining. They thought I'd consumed that much alcohol that I'd burnt my stomach. Yeah. Totally off topic about hands, but I just thought I'd say, do not eat the powder.
Don't eat the powder. I think that goes without saying,
the outspoken entourage member,
that falls under the same category. It really does fall under the same category, Tony, is when you walk into the bathroom, don't eat the big white bin.
Exactly.
I'm writing that down.
Write that down.
Don't eat the powder. I wrote it down.
Yeah, don't eat reagent powder. Yeah.
No. As good as it tastes, it's not that nice, especially when you start losing your taste buds off your tongue.
Yeah, exactly, right. It comes down to you think it's common sense. We all do. We all think that's common sense. But really, when you're dealing with a reef tank, common sense is just the beginning. Okay, safety, and I think I was going to do a stream on this, and I just realized the topic is so bloody huge that it consumes a lot of different aspects, right? There's safety for the tank itself. There's safety for the fish that are involved. There's safety for you. And we always seem to put ourselves absolutely last when it comes to safety, right? And it's like, well, yeah, but if you die, who's looking after your fish tank, man?
Do you know the one that I dislike the most? And I do dislike it, and I will mention it, because I know Michael's done a video, and nearly every person has done a video on this, yeah? Do you know the Voss water bottles for the dosing containers?
Oh, yes, it's sort of, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I live in a household that I used to drink Voss water bottles like
Oh, no.
water. Yeah. And the amount of times that I've come close to drinking mixed magnesium. Yeah. That's another one. We all promote that, yeah, you can use this as a dosing container, milk jugs as a dosing container. You still have to take them containers out of the stand.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
It's
Well,
common sense. You're
you
taught
think
not
it
to put
is.
chemicals into drinks bottles, but yet as reefers, we find it more ideal.
Right. And you got to make sure you're marking and doing things a certain way, because that kind of an accident, what if it wasn't you? What if it was your child?
Exactly.
It just looks like a bottle of water, man. And, kids don't go sip, sip. They go glug, 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 glug.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
there's things that it sounds dumb. Have the number for poison control on the fridge, man. Have those things there, because it's important. Those things should be locked away if you're thinking about it. I'm not talking about safety Nazi levels here, where every last thing is done. But you know what? When we were kids, I don't know how many of you guys have had it happen, but I went to school with a fellow whose mom kept Drano, the powdered stuff, under the sink.
Yeah.
And when he was 3 years old, unfortunately, he ingested some, burned his face, right? The whole 9 yards, right?
Yeah.
And he, and of course he had a chip on his shoulder about it, because he grew up being teased all the hell for that, right? Of course he did, right? And I looked at him one day and I said, no, I'm just wondering what happened. And it took him aback, because nobody had ever just said, I'm not looking at you because you're grossing me out. I was just wondering what happened. And he told me, I'm like, and we became best friends, right? Eric, I still talk to Eric today. And this is like, holy geez, 34 years later. You know what I mean? I don't get to talk to him as often, but he has had permanent health problems all his life from that. Right. So,
of course.
Parents are more careful with that. But us as reefers, I know Dre, Salty Aquatics, unfortunately for Dre, his son now twice has dumped entire bottles of flake food into his tank.
Yeah.
Right. He's ruined that tank for him. Right now he's cleaning it out. He's going to fix it up. But like he said, he goes, and it was up. His kid put a chair up, climbed up on top of the counter, and then climbed on top of the fridge to get the food. 3 years old. Right. If they're hell bent, determined to get it, putting it away or putting it high is not enough. You have to lock it away.
Yeah, you do.
Right. If you know your child's like that, they're that curious, they're that hell bent and determined. Make sure you're locking it up. Right. I have a way to lock my stuff away, but I don't have I don't know. My 19-year-old's pretty dumb some days, but
Nemo looked hungry, Dad.
Yeah, he needs to eat. And it's just pure.
Who do you blame? The child gets hurt. Who do you blame? You don't blame the child, do you?
You blame yourself, and that's the way it should be. You did it, right?
Yeah.
So it's weird to think of things that way, but you know what? We don't. We just you get so focused on the tank, you don't focus on what's around the tank. Where do we have this? It's in our home, right? So the minute this is in your home, right? Like somebody's talking about their kid drank salt water, right? I said, well, how much? Well, does it matter? Yes, actually it does. You can consume a small amount of it. It's you could drink, I think it's 4 ounces before it's even detrimental.
Well, it's a diuretic, isn't it?
It makes you pee, and it stays in your kidneys. So you got to drink more fresh water to flush that back out. That's all. But if you drink too much, that's when it leads to renal failure, and it causes that, I forget what they call it, but it's sailors, when they would drink it, would get it dementia, right? You'd start, scurvy and hallucination all at once, right?
Yep.
So, that's those guys that you hear about that jump in the water, it's fine, and get eaten by a shark because they basically didn't stay in the boat, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Hey, I got a little story. I thought about running this past reefers from time to time, but now I don't know. We hear about pallies and the toxin and Zoe, but here's what happened. Now you can think. So I'm not really saying it's is it related or is this a cause? But back in 2016, matter of fact, June of 2016. That's how bad it was because I can remember. In the evening time, I pulled out a rock. I had some nuclear green pallies.
Yeah.
Yep.
Pulled out a rock, and I had it outside on a work table, and I forget what I was trying to do, frag something or pull. Anyway, but I'm messing around. I cut that rock in half or something. Anyway, and there's pallies and these pallies on it now, and it was in I'm in El Paso. We have some really windy days. It was just kind of breezy, sort of windy.
Yep.
I'm out, and I put that back. Okay, this is like 8 o'clock. Okay, now this is what actually happened. Okay, it doesn't relate to that. I don't know, but okay, about 9:30, almost 10 o'clock, I start to get this sting in my eyes. Okay.
Yep.
Now, I've got that before because here in El Paso, because of the high winds, there's a lot of allergens and dust and stuff in it. And usually it comes and goes away. And that's what I thought was going to happen. But it doesn't. And it starts to get worse. And it starts to get worse. It
Yeah.
starts to get really bad. And then it's just outright pain in my eyes. And I got to go get, it's like 11 o'clock, almost 12 o'clock. I wake my wife up from sleep. I said, you got to take me to the emergency room. She says, well, what's wrong? I said, my eyes it's killing me, you know. And that was some of the worst pain I'd ever experienced. So we get to the ER and finally get checked in. And they put some med in there to dull the pain for a while. And then they're they don't really know what it is. They're just thinking it's, I think the first diagnosis is bacterial or conjunctivitis or something.
Right.
I forget.
Yep.
But it was conjunctivitis. Okay, my eyes are still red. It had gone from one to the other, and so I made it through that night. And they gave me some pain meds. I was taking some hydrocodone, which I don't like to take because it gives me nausea and stuff. But the pain was so bad, I would take it, you know. And then the next night, it's not going away, and I can't see the ophthalmologist right away. And so I go back in. Well, they flush out my eyes. They put like a couple of liters, 1 liter in each eye. There's fluid. And they're still thinking it's some type of conjunctivitis, which eventually it was, but it's not going away. Not going away. Finally, about 3 days into this stuff and me in this horrific pain all the time, and I can't hardly see anything, I see the ophthalmologist. He tells me it's viral conjunctivitis. Okay, so it's like people know what pink eye is and stuff like that.
Yep.
And it's the same thing, but he says it's a really, really bad case. He gives me some steroids, some other meds, and the pain was starting to calm down some, but I still had this. It was so bad, it was like inflammation and swelling was so bad, it was affecting my vision. I really can't, I see blurs. That's all I can see. My wife is leading me around like I'm blind for days. And he tells me, he said, it'll run its course 7 to 10 days, you know. Well, 7 to 10 days later, I'm still seeing blurs out of both eyes. I can't go to work. I can't. And so this lasted, before I finally started to get vision, could really say I could read something out of one eye, we were into it almost 3 weeks. And I keep going back to the ophthalmologist. And one time I go back and he says, how are you doing? I said, well, I can finally see you now out of one eye. And it took basically, just to shorten the story, it took me basically 2 months before I got full vision back in both eyes. Okay.
Yep.
He tells me in the end, the ophthalmologist, and this is the way a lot of doctors are about a lot of things. He says, I have to tell you, that's the worst case of conjunctivitis I have ever seen in my career. And this was a guy, I'm ex-military. He's a major, you know?
Yeah.
And I said, well, you didn't tell me that before. He said, well, I didn't want to upset you. And I still didn't tell him. I almost thought about telling, you know, well, but then, you know, you get these stupid looks from people like, yeah, right.
Yeah, you do. People judge, don't they?
So now, I don't know. I've heard, that doesn't kind of mix with other stories about polytoxin. So, but it just makes me wonder all the time. It just makes me wonder.
I can say to you, 7 times out of 10, that probably was the palifoes.
Yeah, you're looking at a case of you were sensitive to it and your wife wasn't. If both of you had got it, it would have rung off in your head right away, because that would have been the commonality of it right there. You know, it's the same thing. They used to look at people silly about hantavirus.
Yep.
Right? Mouse poop in the southwestern states, for some reason, has this, you know, basically a version of Ebola, hemorrhagic fever in it.
Yep.
That people were cleaning up these old homes and then getting deathly ill, dying even, right? Because, you know, doctors, you know, are only now getting to the point they can kind of support you. And they're not curing Ebola, by the way, everybody. It just runs its course. Yep. That's what people don't understand. They figured out how to it. They know how to manage it now so your organs don't liquefy because of this thing, right? You know, I don't think people really know what Ebola does to you, but, you know, you're basically going to start crapping your insides out at some point. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what else? Now that was really, it took me 2 months to go back to work. I was out for.
Did you make the correlation right away? Or did you think about it after and figure out where it came
I
from?
thought about the whole time. Now, I haven't even told this. I haven't even told this to my wife.
I probably wouldn't.
Pallies do have spores.
Yeah, they do spore.
When they dry out in the sun, it becomes like a pollen.
Yeah. Well, my eyes are real sensitive to, but okay. But I want.
Sorry, guys.
That was the horrific side. Now here's the kind of funny side. You know, we're getting a new tank set up, and we're looking at corals. And my wife says, "Oh, we need to get some of those like we had before." And she's pointing at nuclear green pallets.
There you go. So Crew's put it out. It's called volatiles, by the way.
If you look at my tank,
lovely.
there's a little frag in there with 3 polyps of nuclear green pallets. But I'm looking at them, I'm saying, "You sons of bitches."
Yeah. I've already thought about when I move. I have that rock with all the blue-green velvet pallies on it, and I've got nuclear greens. And I'm sitting there going, okay, you guys are definitely going in a separate container. Everything I know, I'm going to safely move them.
Yeah.
And then they're going to be basically worked on in a well-ventilated environment. And I'm going to be wearing a respirator. And everyone's like, why? I can't afford to ever get hit with that because my body's immune system won't rally like another person's will. So, because, exactly, I'm going to bag them, right? And that way I can basically worry about the palitoxin in a contained environment, rinse them off, and then basically let them, bag them underwater, and then that way they don't freak out. It's when you take them out of the water, they flip out. And it's, that one in Gatineau, Quebec, right? Half the story. Now there's guys that have gone to interview them that work in the hobby and the trades, and they're saying, yeah, there was way more. We're not at liberty to talk about it, but it was not what it was. That's why, Canadian hazmat teams and everything didn't get involved at first. They went in and checked after, and they looked at him and said, we have no way to test for this stuff, right? We're not set up for it, right? So, it's one of those cases where, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure anyway. Don't mess around with them. If you don't know how to deal with it or you don't want to deal with it, don't buy them. You know what I mean? It's that simple. Well, I bought it, but it was on the rock. Don't buy the rock. Say you can throw that rock away. Put it in a garbage bag and throw it away, man. Right?
You
Why?
sit there and think of the amount of people that mess about with things like deadly nightshade and things like that.
Yep.
One just go to the fish shop.
Hey,
seriously, really? Why not go to the fish shop?
No, it's the same thing.
That's kill.
Belladonna is another one over in Europe. Belladonna is a big one that people screw around with in their garden and don't realize they are. It's always about the pretty. They want the flowers. They want that, but don't realize this stuff's there too. Yeah. And it can kill you faster, actually.
Yeah.
What's the one over in Europe? Ricin.
Ricin, yeah. Do you know they used to use ricin on stamps?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why we have sticky stamps now.
Yep.
Not lick and stick, because they used to use ricin.
Yeah. It didn't use They used a part of the plant that ricin comes from to make that sticky. You know what I mean? And didn't realize that there could be cross-contamination. So people were licking it and getting semi-paralyzed. I think there were a couple of deaths back in the 60s.
Yeah, it was,
I think it was the 60s. And that was right when that Soviet guy got murdered. And all they did was jab him with less than 0.3 milligrams of it. Right? And what a way to go. 3 days.
Yeah.
Didn't kill him instantly, but it killed him in 3 days, right?
It was a long 3 days.
It's amazing that one conversation today piqued me off on safety with your reef tank. It's like, I know me and Jeeves have talked about safety in the reef tank and, safety with your plumbing, safety with this, but it's like, all of a sudden, what about your food? What about keeping your kids out of your food, right? Keeping your kids out of the chemicals.
What a conversation for a Friday, eh?
Yeah, for a Friday. Sorry to bum you all out.
Where's Dre?
Yeah, where's Dre? Hey, Dre, how's your kid doing? Does his ass feel better yet? No. And what can you do? You can't blame him. And he was just hell-bent and determined, that boy. I props to that kid. You got a chair to get out on the counter, from the counter, climbed up on the fridge, got the food, climbed all the way back down, and dumped the whole thing of Pleco algae sheets into the tank.
The thing is, in his mind, he probably didn't. He wasn't thinking that. He's thinking that I'm going to help.
I'm going to help. I'm going to feed those fish. They look hungry.
Yeah, but that's the second time.
It's the
That's
second
thing,
time
that's
he's
the
already been
second
told.
time.
So the second time was definitely a middle finger, to you, Dad. I'm doing it again because I think those fish are hungry. Yeah. Like, oh yeah, the meltdown. All props to him if he didn't kill that kid, right?
Yeah.
That's just all the props in the
Well, he
world.
didn't the first time.
That's
He
a
didn't the
good
first
dad.
time.
If anybody ever asked, my pals are all going to stay on one rock by themselves. And if anybody ever wants a frag of that, I'll go, okay, here's the deal. You bring some gloves and a mask and stuff, and let me go. I'll leave the house for a while. You take it out, you do the fragging, and let me know once you put it back in the tank, and I'll come back in. Otherwise, I
Yeah,
ain't
you take what you want. You take what you want.
Yep, exactly. Right?
take what you. Now they do, a nice big.
Grabbing coffee, boys. I'll be right back. Keep talking, Tim.
They're really nice. I do like it, but Jesus, you just got to be. Believe me, I will be very careful around Pallies and Zoas both. To be honest.
Now, see, are the Pally Grandies that bad?
The Pally Grandies?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I guess that's a cruise question. I don't know if you've looked into it or not.
Yeah, Cruz left. He probably had to go to work.
Oh. That's the big giant Pallies, the ones that are like an inch and a half across.
Wow. Well, that would be grande. I don't know. I would suspect it would be the same thing.
Yeah, go look up green Palifoa Grandies. They're pretty cool, but like I said, I mean they're the size of you're U.S., huh, Tim?
Yeah.
They're like the size of an old $50.
Wow. That would
when
be
they're fully grown and opened.
Don't let my wife see those. Jesus.
They're green and white and kind of a mottled green, white, and tan color.
Well, the only thing about Pallies anyway, and the reason I'll keep it on one rock, keep them on one rock, is if they get to the rest or close to the rest of the rock, they'll spread all over everything, and they're pretty invasive, I guess, if you want to call it that. Before you know it, you'll have Pallies everywhere, anywhere, So, and they start taking up anybody and everybody else's space. So you got to be real careful with them as far as that goes. But I'm right now. The reason I have them is one reason is to keep the wife happy. We gotta do some give and take in order to get what I want, and that's the deal. Wife likes the LPS stuff. Well, to be honest with you, I do too. I like LPS better than SPS. I think
Mine likes that one stupid clownfish and then everything else that can't go in her tank.
Pretty much. That's the way that works. I've had to say no with a purchase to my wife more times than I care to count. Or she'll look at a coral particularly like it, and it's SPS, we'll kill it because we're not ready yet. We're just not there. Yeah, that's always fun.
My wife calls those trees.
Trees? Yeah.
Why'd you put your tree over there? I said they're not. But then I think, well, we call them sticks, so what the hell's the difference? Well, they look like mini trees. But,
Yeah, it's definitely. Tony had to go, did he?
I don't know.
He dropped off. Probably had to work.
Yep.
I thought you dropped off for a while. Did you just go get some coffee?
I just had to get coffee and go to the bathroom. Sorry, again, the diabetes, does me in, right?
Yeah.
But
you getting
hey, guys.
injected with new medication?
Yeah, it seemed to be now. It's a lot easier than it was, and the weight's coming off. I figured that was going to come because we even talked about it. The fact that that new drug it does that. The other one was supposed to Invokana. Didn't do anything for me. Barely affected my system. Didn't change my sugars. Nothing.
Huh.
Kenya trees are like trees. I think of them like weeds.
Are you using a pin? You dial it in on the pin?
Nope. Nope. I don't take insulin. I take metformin and I take Jardiance. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm insulin resistant. I make insulin. I just can't use insulin.
Don't do anything for you. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I got you.
But when it's really bad, when I was in the hospital, when I had the heart attack, they used insulin because it was easier on my system. is what they were telling me. And I'm like, okay, that's not what I was led to believe, but okay. But it was because my sugars were unnaturally high because of the enzyme release. So they were looking for a way to bind that up really quick. And then the other one was when I went in for the bowel obstruction 3 years later. Again, they had to hit me with insulin once or twice to get things under control again because the other drugs they were putting in my system were causing spikes. So
I'm 20 years older than you, and every time I listen to you, it's like, Jesus, who's older?
you got to remember, Tim. You were in the military. You know the fun you can have. Well, when you're in a rock band, multiply that by 10 times. You know, it's not. Let's have a few shots of Jack and get drunk. That's why I said if you're drinking Jack Daniels, your pants are coming off because you're going to drink that whole bottle. Your brain now is disengaged and home. You know, waking up in the morning and having my liver sitting next to me, having a coffee and smoking a cigarette, calling me an a-hole was not uncommon. You know what I mean? And you know what's funny? I only ever had 2 hangovers my entire life.
I'm not
only ever had 2. Oh no, laugh at me, man!
Me.
I did some silly crap.
I don't wish any of those problems. I'm thinking, how stupid am I? I'm worried about my problems. This guy's 20 years younger. He's got 10 times more problems than I got.
Well, when I was in the military, I got thrown. So I basically injured my back when I was 16. That started the injuries to my stomach. Because what happened was I basically tried to, you see those gymnasts that can, basically bend over backwards and touch their own feet again. I did that, but I didn't do it naturally. It was forced. All right. And that's happened to me twice. And what they think is that ripped my stomach wall and caused weak parts in my stomach wall. So I wound up with these hernias, you think, right? Hey, Diuretic. And basically what happened over time is then I started developing hernias. Well, I'm now on hernias 9 and 10. So that scar tissue got bound up around me, and now they're talking about this and that. And I'm like, you know what? I got about 25 good years left. I'm not going to spend them worrying about every day if that other shoe's going to drop. So why don't we just patch what we can, work it the right way? You guys have developed the techniques better. Stop stuffing this mesh that's known to cause that. And now there's a possible lawsuit on the horizon too, because it was known that it caused scar tissue.
In Canada, do you have like disability? Are you on disability at all?
Nope, not at all. Still expected to go to work.
Do they have a disability system in Canada?
We do. Yeah, it's a pain in the ass to get on too.
No. Well, it is here too, I guess.
That's why they afford. No, it's not that hard. Trust me. I've known a couple of people that don't need to be on disability here.
Well, I do too.
All you need is a
doctor. Basically, you need your doctors to sign off it and stand behind it.
Girl I used to date, her older sister, daddy's a lawyer, uncles are lawyers, mom's a lawyer. The older sister is a non-contributing member of society. Let's be politically correct.
Ooh, that's a nice way to call somebody a bum. I mean, no.
Yeah, that's it. No, that's it. That is. Let's not mince words here. I mean, that's an opinion. You're allowed to have it, right? So Corey's Reef Tank there, he had a stroke at 32. There you go.
Whew.
Yeah, my nightmare. I am a high blood pressure person, and I'll tell you, Corey, that's a concern. I've had a heart attack, so we know I'm clogged up somewhere.
There's plenty of people abusing the system in the U.S. That's for sure. It's just
Canada's even worse.
The people who really need to be on it seem to have the hardest time getting on it. The people who don't need to be on it are running around driving the Cadillacs and Lexuses. So.
Well, that's So short story. She's 30, mid 30s now. I dated her the sister about 4 years ago, and the dad had one of his buddies who's a doctor that he works with. Right, does medical consulting for his cases, his personal injury. Write a note and got her on. Whatever. I mean, like $1,400 a month disability and unemployment.
You don't get that
because she has anxiety problems that prevent her from working.
Maybe just anxiety.
She likes to sit home and smoke pot all day.
Anxiety about working.
Who doesn't though? That's my thing. Mm-hmm. I have anxiety about everybody I know has anxiety about working, but she'd rather sit at home and smoke weed all day and not do anything.
It's funny. There was one here. Here, disability is about $880 a month, period, no matter how bad. There's different cases, but they're usually extreme, and they're injury, accident related in some way through the Safety Council of Canada, all that crap. So there was one woman, that we were all watching here in St. John. She's driving a Porsche Cayenne. Okay, so that's the 4x4, right? You know, the SUV. That's not a cheap vehicle by
No,
any
it's not
stretch
at
of the
all.
imagination. She's living in income assisted housing, you know, down the list, right? And all of a sudden, somebody just kind of clued in. I don't, you know, it's funny. People don't think about your vehicle as being the thing that got you caught. You know what I mean? So they kind of figured it out after the fact that she was getting all her disability, right? She was getting all her income assistance for her kids. She had 4 kids. You know, this is one of the, and this is an extreme case. This is not normally what you see. I normally see them eating at the dollar store, picking from the 5 things on the shelf. You know, this one was driving a Porsche Cayenne, paid for, right, and living rent free. Okay, and bringing in this. So this is how she did it. So anyway, finally, you know, it hit the news that she got caught. And of course, everyone's all saying that everybody does that. That's on the system. No, that's an extreme case, and she, you know, she's going to pay for that because she got 12 years in prison for that, for fraud.
Wow.
You know, so for
Yeah, and
that's just greedy. You know,
Yeah.
that's just greedy. I mean, you know, it's what it is, right? Look at that. We got off topic, Cruz. I told you it happens all the time.
Yeah,
welcome to the Reefer
disclaimer on
Madness.
that. I have no problems with anybody that needs it. It's the ones
The
that
abusers.
don't, you know.
Yeah, the abusers.
And then down here, you know, I'm like Tim. It's bad in the U.S. At least down here it is, because you know we go to Walmart to grocery shop, okay, you know, and we budget, you know. So how much do we have for groceries this week? You know, whatever, $125 for groceries for a week for the 2 of us. 7 days, you know. What do we need to get? And we're you know, kind of, I'm pretty good at math, so I'm adding as I go about where we are. You know, if we go a little over 135, you know, that doesn't really hurt anything, because sometimes we're less, just depending on what recipes we cook. But we go to checkout, so we've got our little basket with $125 worth of groceries, which isn't a lot. And then the lady in front of us with 6, 7 kids running around has 2 baskets of groceries she pays for with a government card, and then has a basket of liquor and other things that she pays with $100 bills.
Gotta have your liquor.
You know, whereas we both work 40 plus hours a week and have to budget and be budget conscious.
No, and that's just it. Same with us. Like Canada's a much more socialist system, but we still have the same complaints. You're right. They make you contribute. So when the ones that are on it that are no longer contributing, right? So even though they're getting this, they are paying taxes, but they're not paying anywhere near, you know, what somebody like yourself up here, it would make you cry what you would pay in taxes earning that kind of money, James. We were talking about that.
I don't want to know.
No, you don't. Right. You know, like I said to one guy, when you see people here looking for a tax dodge, it's just truthfully just to make sure they make enough. You know, who wants to make 120 grand a year and only actually take home 55 grand?
Well, I think that's what they do. Where is it? Sweden or
Sweden does that. Britain does that. They all do.
They take like 60%.
Yep.
Well, they get everything free, but I say, yeah, but I don't know. That just goes against, you know, as an American, that just goes against the grain so bad. You know, it's like,
well, it does.
It's
but
not
the thing
capitalist.
It's not capitalism, right? But the thing is that it starts to, when you're looking at, you guys have a bigger problem with it, and I understand it, and I've told people this before. Canada has 36 million, 37 million people. That's it. Okay, that's a lot, but that's it. America, the United States of America, is like almost, 380 million now?
Yeah, it's 10 times Canada.
10 times, right? So implementing any system is going to be painful, because getting it to work right where it doesn't get abused and it works right takes time. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things, because here's the thing. You guys have insurance. You guys have all that. It's when you start looking at who's getting rich off the fact that you got sick. You know what I mean? That's when it starts to leave a bad taste in people's mouths, right? Lauren G. Hello, welcome. I have not seen your name before. So 48% is the highest tax here in Europe. Who's where in Europe is that? I'd be surprised if it's not Germany, but
is that just income tax? You're like me. I pay 27% income federal, and then I pay whatever it is, 1.5% Social Security and 3.5% this.
Yep.
You know, so I'm right about 30% of my paycheck goes to taxes. Then my health insurance.
I'm enough with a happy day. Now I'm getting depressed. Let's talk
Yeah,
about
well, that's what I said. We'll talk about this a little more, but I don't want to keep talking about it because none of us want to talk. Canada's 67.5%, ladies and gents, after $50,000. So that's why middle class
I can't
disappears.
say what I want to tell you on air.
We'll private. You know, that's one of those ones. When we go to private, boom, we'll do that, right?
Had that off-topic political debate.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Lawrence G. I appreciate that. Trust me, I really do. I like having everybody. Basically where I want to take the channel is somebody said at one time and it made sense. So now I don't want to be Howard Stern, but sort of like that. It's that sort of talk radio Reef where we're going to talk about everything Reef related, not just what I want to talk about. I'll go out and look for a topic a lot of time. Or, you know, I'll have different things on. I'm going to have guests occasionally, right? They're a little harder to get, but I'm working that. So I have a really good system for that. Because the Skype thing just makes me laugh. Every time I see it, it's like it just goes crazy on the person. But whatever I do, I'll make it work. And I love having people all over the world do it. I have a couple from Australia. You're in Holland. I think, who is it? Reef. He's in Belgium, right? Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. I've got, you know, Tom from My Saltwater Journey. He's in Sweden.
Yeah.
He's in Sweden. So we have a ton from the UK. I'm sure you're already aware of them. If you've been around doing that, you know who I'm talking about. Michael Aarons, Paul from Reef Community Worldwide. We've got Reef Dudes out in Western Canada, British Columbia, me here on the East Coast of Canada in New Brunswick. We've got Reef G's down in Louisiana, you know, so on. We're everywhere, right? Everybody does this, right?
Yeah, but you like the Brits, man.
Yeah. That's an inside joke, buddy. But yeah, so hey, Eradicate, why did you have to write a bad review about your local fish store? I am now thoroughly boink. What is it you're saying?
Was that a question or was that a statement?
Yeah.
You want a statement about my local fish store?
Yeah. Well, I think we all got statements about some of them. Yeah. What was that one Mark Levinson went into? The Elo store. I think in near Austin or Dallas. I don't forget where it was. I'll have to look at it again. But it was so clean, I wouldn't go in there.
Too clean?
Too clean. Yeah.
That would be perfect for Reefer Gill.
Why? He likes his stuff clean?
Oh, he's yeah. Him
yeah.
Billy. Oh, my God.
Go ahead, pump him. Come on. Give him a shout out.
I can't. What am I trying to? I'm trying to do two.
Billy Pipes.
Yeah, Billy Pipes. I'm trying to get out the door here, and I can't do two things at once.
Well, I was trying to get ready for work this morning, the same time as my wife was, and I'm walking. Yeah, I just woke up, you know, to the dispatch call, and I'm still waking up. I haven't had coffee. I'm discombobulated. I'm trying to get all my stuff together, and she's trying to talk to me and ask me questions. I was like, just shut up for 5 minutes.
Ooh.
She's like, you don't have to be a-hole about it. I said, no, I just need you to be quiet for 5 minutes until I can get all my stuff together because I keep walking in the rooms and forgetting what I'm looking for because you keep asking me questions.
You got to stop, man. My wife will be on here saying #me too. So and that is not belittling that movement. I am thoroughly behind that, but it's just there comes a point where it's like, so you're telling us everything about Hollywood from the last 100 years is true? We kind of already knew that. Fair enough. So Jeretica's talking about dead and dying stuff in the tanks. Yeah, I've been in the shops before.
So he had to write a bad review about his LFS.
About his LFS because he's going in there and just seeing the poor quality condition of things. And that's what, unfortunately the LFS are just, oh man, really? Did his father pass away? For you that Mike's Reef Tank, or no, is it Mike's Reef Tank, I think? JO Nation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, JO. Yeah.
JO, yeah.
Yeah.
That's too bad.
He's been vlogging that the last few days.
Yeah, he had cancer, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's why he was back in the States. I think he knew something was coming.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It is.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed his journey, and started watching all his side stuff when he was on the trike, traveling across, and just the trouble he was having getting that on the go. But you could just, there's a guy, pure joy, doing things that most of us would be like, why the hell are you doing that? You know, like he just really enjoyed doing it, right? Jess.
Yeah, that's a guy that's really having fun going through life. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
just enjoying it. Yeah.
he's just it's just
Matt,
fun
thank you, Keith. It's Matt. Matt's Reef Tank. That's it.
Yeah.
And JO Nation, right?
AO Nation. Yeah. Yeah, he was in Stan's a few weeks back. He was sat in on not this last.
Yeah, when he first got back to the States, I saw that.
Yeah, so there we go. So Cruz just said he got a notification that Indonesia is banning export of Indonesian corals and fish. So
Look out.
Yeah, here we go. Costs are going up, folks, right now. There it is.
Hey, I'm going
Here
in my
it goes.
LFS right now. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
That seems to be the trend here lately, is that they'll ban them, but a lot of them are opening back up.
And it's to raise the pricing so they can get away. It's what it feels like to me. It's like when Hawaii did it, yellow tangs went from what, $49.99 to $99.99?
Yeah.
Right? And now
And then they opened it back up.
And they open it back up, and now it's like, okay, well, it's not really affecting things away. Now, Indonesia is a different animal. It really is. That whole ring, triangle, they call it, right? I think, is a lot of corals come from Indonesia and Tonga, like Indonesia in general.
I think that's where Jason Fox goes to get a lot of his corals. Indonesia.
His was
I don't think it's going to be a thing of the
shut down.
past, Lawrence. No, I think what we're looking at is if it's not maricultured or aquacultured, you're probably not going to see wild anymore, right? And I mean, we really don't need to. I mean, you look at a Jason Fox coral.
Yeah.
Why would you want that that pink, or like, let's say pink, acro that is a no-name acro or has a name that you can't pronounce? It's just, that's a pink acro. When you can get like a, not that I want to keep saying that one, but the Jason Fox homewrecker, by comparison, is what everybody wants. And I think I agree with I think it was Mike Paletta that was talking about it. All these rainbow this and rainbow that, that's not diversity in your tank. If everything's a rainbow, then what the hell are you looking at? What, a bag of Skittles?
Right.
You know what I mean? So it doesn't, I don't know, for me it just doesn't resonate the right way. It's like I want a yellow torch, or it's not torch, or a yellow hammer, but I don't only want yellow hammers. I want yellow and purple and a pink tip, and I want that, but I want them in little groups. I don't want to have it so it's speckled through, and it's like there's just no rhyme or reason to it. You know what I mean? So when you're getting into this hobby, it's or Elegant Corals, exactly. Don't forget to check out Elegant Corals, guys. Unfortunately, my sponsorship stuff isn't up there, but check out Elegant Corals. And if you're in Europe, don't forget to look at Aquarium Cabinet Solutions. And what is the coral section of them, Nick? I forgot. I'm sorry. But he's next Corals, maybe. But yeah, support the LFSs you can. A lot of them have an online presence anyway. And the thing is when you're buying corals, and I'm going to have to yell at my kid here, 2 seconds, guys. Anyway, I have to yell out, let her in, because my female cat will meow at his door for 3 hours. I don't think it's as bad as they paint it, Lawrence.
No.
It is not. You got to remember that when you're dealing with a lobby group, and that's just it. We got more than enough already, so I'm okay with stopping it. Fish, even more so. I want more. There's guys doing it now. I think the blue hippo tangs starting to come online. Yellow tangs are online, and they're working even harder at it, where they don't have to take them from the wild anymore. So now what they can do, are you going to go pick on the fishermen in Hawaii for the bycatch and 600 yellow tangs laying on the dock dead because you can't be bothered to wear a pair of gloves and throw them back in? Because they don't want to get cut, because they do get cut. So, don't look that picture up. You want to scream in just fierce anger. Look up bycatch yellow tangs, right? And just look at the pictures from the docks in Hawaii. One boat, 1 day, 600.
See, and
600.
so a relation to everyday things, think about gas prices, you know, and oil. What was it, 2011, 12? It's, oh, we're going to be out of gas in, you know, 3 years, so gas is $4 a gallon. And then 4 years later, oh, well, there's so much of it that we need to drop prices down to nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's just price manipulation.
Right. Now, do we need to clean up our act? Sure. But, you know, here's the thing. Until you make, well, I'll give you an example of a good sales technique that I saw. So I like high-end sports cars, right? I love watching. I don't want to own one. But, man, you know, is there anything more beautiful than a Huracan or, you know, Lamborghini Huracan or a Ferrari or any of those?
The
No, they're
FXX.
really not. The FXXK, you know, and all those crazy cars, right? No, but what's really funny is then to watch that Tesla Model S and the guy who has it all stripped out down to the driver's seat and is killing drag cars. You know, guys who have spent tens of thousands of dollars just on the motor to do the quarter mile, and they're getting their ass whooped by an electric car all day. Because, yeah, I don't know if you guys know, but an electric motor, it's all torque. So from one end to the other, that thing's pulling like a banshee. You know what I mean? He doesn't have to switch gears. He's just go. So that was the smartest thing Tesla could have done was back the guy who's doing that on YouTube. And you watch him, and the guy's pulling like 10s and 9s in a Tesla Model S, a family car. Right? So till they get, you know, hypercars that are running like that and they can do that and run all day and you don't run out of power halfway through your day and you got to stop and charge it, that's not going to take over. You know, hybrids are doing a little better. I think what is the McLaren P1, the Ferrari LaFerrari sort of does, and the what's the other one, the Porsche 918, right? Those are hybrid cars. They can run electrically for 30 miles. That's the point, though. 30 miles you can do electric, right? So, and I know over in Britain, and the British guys can speak to it, there's a tax for driving into London depending on your car, and they're getting mad that a guy in a Ferrari, LaFerrari, doesn't pay the congestion tax. That's it, congestion tax. Yeah. All right, Cruz. Yeah. Yeah, Tesla Racing Channel. All right, guys, I gotta go let my cat in, or she's gonna keep meowing. You'll start hearing it. She'll get louder and louder.
Do 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 do.
Sorry about that, guys. I just had to let her in right quick. So yeah, he's one of the. He's in that phase. He doesn't understand why the cat's meowing at him because she loves you and wants your attention. You dillhole. So. And I warned him, don't mistreat my cat, man. You'll find out the wrath of Craig is a completely different thing when it comes to animals. Yeah. So. But yeah, it's just, there you go. So technology's gone that way. And it's funny. We were talking about this. I'll bring it back to reef tanks. Automating a reef tank. People are almost desperate, right, to automate their reef tank. And I'm like, I get it. And we've talked at length about that. But there's a certain point where I want to be the apex. I want to be the guy looking after the tank. Dosing and doing it in the micromillimeters that we're going to do, that's one thing, or milligrams, I guess, either way. I get doing that because that's beyond our control. You know, I can't dose it that way, by hand. I don't want to be standing there for 10 hours, drip, drip. I just don't. But, I just don't want my tank fully automated. There's just too many fail points for me. Once you're relying on a processor, processors fail. So that's just me, though. But there are some cool aspects of the Apex. There really are. And what's that new one? They were talking about it a bit last night, too, I think. I forget the name.
The name, but yeah, somebody had a Mad Hatter had a pause for a second. Had did a real brief video on that new one. I don't remember the name of it though. Oral. Imagine that.
It's like the new light from Viper Spectra.
And that was $900 though too. So
Yeah, it's not like it's cheap. Yeah, eCoral is the new controller.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and Coral with a K. So eCoral. That promises a fresh user experience. Yeah, so you can check that out here. That's on Reef Builder, so I'll link that up for everybody. Thank you, Lawrence. Yeah, and there's a link to it if you guys want to take a look at that. So
I like competition, but they're going to have a hard time overcoming Apex or even rivaling them to an extent, because Apex has such a large
market share.
And then they have the whole forum.
Yep.
And they back theirs up with good customer service. You're going to have a hard road. I'm not saying you can't make something better, and that's fine with me. But they're entrenched.
Oh yeah, ask Digital Aquatics how it's going.
Yeah.
So reef keepers are, far and few between now, right? I've got one, but I basically use it as a glorified timer. Yeah. So, but it works really well for that reason, right? So,
yeah, I've been looking at getting a reef keeper just because I don't need the Apex and I'm not spending that much money on it.
And that's just
needed to control a couple of simple things.
And you get what you pay for too. So you don't want it to be so cheap as to make you go, no, I can't see that working out, right? But yeah, so like when you get into this hobby and you start to really look at what you're doing, I think that's when you need to make those decisions. It kind of makes me laugh. Like I could put an Apex on my 20. I don't really need to, but if I had the excess cash, I guess maybe, I don't know. I'm still really on the fence about that. My 20, I can look at, kind of figure out what my day is going to be that I may or may not have to do with it and kind of move on. And most of the time it's just testing the basic parameter stuff and figuring out what's going on in there with that. So looking at that with it and figuring out where to go with it, you know what I mean? And knowing that I'm probably going to have to change my salt at least up to reef crystals from Instant Ocean because I'm just not getting the magnesium that is required in my tank. I find IO purple's a little lacking there in that front. So, yeah. But yeah, so there we go. That's yeehaw. Huh. So anybody got any questions? Any other topics they want to discuss?
Let's talk about that. Oh, wait a minute.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm passing a fire truck with lights flashing and all this stuff. So let's see what's happening. Anyway, okay. Here's a subject that it's one of those things you always intend to bring up and you never do. What, ORP.
Oh, you want to talk about oxygen reduction potential? Okay.
Yeah, it's not. I got an Apex that'll, I can plug in and monitor my ORP. It's like one of those things you hear, but what the hell are we talking about with ORP? I guess what's a simple explanation for ORP?
Give me a sec. I'll see if I can justify this. I have a page that I go to, and
we lost Cruz, so
yeah, we lost him, so I can't just Cruz.
It's a Cruz or definitely a Cruz or Nick question.
Or Nick,
but in the basics of it, oxidation reduction potential, or redox, is it's the strength of the oxidizers and ions and electrons, everything in the water. So there are certain things that we'll put into our water. So hydrogen peroxide, bromine, ozone, right, and chlorine are all oxidizers or dioxides that go into the water and reduce the potential of that water to hold on to oxygen, right? Okay. Now, the biggest one, and the one that I think they put the ORP sensors on for, is probably hydrogen peroxide, the ones of us that use it, and hydrogen sulfide, old tank syndrome. It will warn you up front if that's starting to rise. So the water's now no longer holding as much oxygen because something is in that tank causing that to happen, right? So that's a basic of it. And when it's measured by millivolts. It's by the electrical conductivity of the water is how they do it. but it's not a constant. That's where I'd let crews kind of go into it. It's kind of beyond my pay grade. I understand what it is. I understand the dangers that come from it, but how it interacts and intermingles is a totally different thing for me. It's just that's chemical biology at that point, right? Yeah.
But I always wonder about it because every time I look, which isn't very that often. I look at my apex head and it's like I don't have a probe for the
Morning, Tina. Yep, you don't have it, or you do have it on your tank, Tim?
No, you can put a probe on your apex.
You can, yeah.
But I'm like, I don't know why.
A lot of people don't use it. When I was looking on the Reef Keeper, that's why I want the SL2 V2 module, is so I have pH, temperature, and salinity, because those are the ones I watch all the time. Bigger tanks, exactly, right?
I need to add the salinity probe on my apex, but ORP,
ORP is you know what? I mean, that's just putting it lightly. It's beyond our pay grade. A lot of us don't understand it, and even if we do, I kind of understand it. And I mean, kind of. What I explained to you is basically book learning stuff, right? I couldn't, the interaction of hydrogen peroxide. So, okay, I have used it. I know how to use peroxide fairly safely, but I warn people it can cause an ORP drop. So what that means is that all of a sudden the oxygen level in my tank is no longer there, right? It's now reduced, right? So it can cause stress in the tank in different ways and cause other things to come into play, which is why I giggled insistently about 35% food grade peroxide in your tank, because that's do the math, 3%, that's 10 times more potential for problems, right? Actually 10.5% if you want to get technical, But now Corey's Reef Tank, you were asking about a doser. The Jabo doser is fine. The one that's really getting popular around my area is the Coral Box doser, which is still made by Jabo, but it's a much more complete kit. There's a few, right? I think it just comes down to what you want to pay. A lot of people, if they have an Apex, go with the Apex doser because it's direct controlled. I think the business was endorsing that a lot last night.
Yeah, because he's a full Apex guy.
Yeah, so he's right into it, right? There's a few others. Kind of go with Go ahead.
I was just saying, I like my Apex Neptune dose.
Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it. No, like I said, I don't crap on Apex because it's a crap product. It is not at all. It's more just the cost. It's so cost prohibitive for a lot of people getting in. But if you can afford it, go for it. You know what I mean? I tell everybody that. When it comes down to ORP, I would not get overly concerned unless you're messing around with certain things, right? Or your tank is starting to get to a certain age and you're worried about old tank syndrome. So if you never clean your sand bed, if you don't do certain things that other people do because you're just letting the tank run and you're looking after it that way, you may want to keep an eye on your ORP because it will give you a hint that something's coming and let you deal with it, right? Because I'll tell you, hydrogen sulfide is no joke, folks. It can kill you, right? It's more than capable of doing it. Yeah. So there we go. So it's ORP. Anybody else? Any topics, conversation we want to talk about? Not everything except taxes and death.
Yeah, please, let's not go there. So.
Lawrence, you're a programmer. What kind of programming do you generally do? If you don't mind me asking, Lawrence. I'm going to guess that's a fella. The names always get me. Sometimes the names don't hint at anything, so. Not that it matters. I can't justify those prices. I just like to address people correctly. Oh, they did. Ah, so you got somebody mouth breathing in there. Awesome. Yeah. Well, hopefully you get a successful clutch out of it. You will have to get yourself a 5-gallon tank, Tina. Get it up and running right now. And when they spit the babies out, you're going to have to catch them because they're going to become fish food. And if you catch them all, you may actually get a few that you can sell off to people. If you want to do that. Yeah. Lawrence, thank you. That works for me. That's great. I'm going to call you Larry. No, I'm kidding. I'll call you whatever you want, Lawrence. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, Craig, I was going to second yours earlier. I would say J-Bow, if absolute budget, Coral Box is going to be your better upgrade. It has a little bit better motors. It's smaller, and it has a Wi-Fi controller.
Yeah.
You can control it from your phone instead of having to manually reach in there and program it. So the benefit is, you can mount it under your cabinet where it's hidden and out of the way, and then use your phone to program.
Exactly.
And then if you go in Cadillac, just run Apex with an Apex doser, but you have to buy the Apex too.
Yeah, that's the.
So
Cadillac.
you're looking what, $1,200 to get the Apex and the doser
and the doser. Yeah, and that's not even all the modules. You're just
Right.
basically touching in at that point, right?
Unless you go the Tim's method and you buy them from somebody who's been in reefing for 6 months and now is frustrated and they're out and they want to sell everything real quick. Then
Exactly.
Pick it up. Yes.
Well, that's the Tim and the Reefing with O method, because that's how O has gotten a lot of his stuff.
Yeah.
Go into Craigslist, go into that, get that guy that's getting out of the hobby who's gone and screwed up his tank so bad he's done, and pick up his gear at a third of the cost.
Yep. So if you're going to do that, then
big deals. He gets better. He gets better.
Oh,
deals
he does, right?
Man.
Yeah. So say if you're going to do that and you need a doser now, then just get the J-Bow and then keep an eye on your local forums or Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace for somebody selling an Apex.
Yeah. And there you go. Yeah, Corey's Reef Tank. I've heard good things about the Aquamedic from people. And Tina, how's your mom doing? I was just going to actually ask that before you said that. Any better? She at the hospital?
I'll be back shortly, guys.
Sounds good, Tim. Yeah, it's that kind of a day. Where are we at here? 2 hours. All right. So I'm going to stay on probably for another 15 minutes. And we'll end the show there at that point. And I'm pretty sure Paul from Reef Community Worldwide will be up at some point there today in the afternoon. She's home now, sleeping a lot. She would be. That'd be very tiring. Yeah. Did they ever figure out exactly where she was bleeding out inside from? Geez, I went a long way to say internal bleeding, didn't I? Yeah. But yeah, so, when you get down into it, there's a lot of options, Corey's. They did. Good. Good. Yeah, so then they work on Holy Solving and had it stopped. Excellent. That's good. Good to hear. Yeah, so hopefully now she's on the mend and take it from there, right? So the pajama carnivals had the babies, so the babies are out of the mouth and they're hiding amongst your rocks. Okay. That hopefully works out. You end up with a whole bunch. You'll have to start selling them off. Yeah. Cool. I don't know if I'm looking forward to that. Yeah. I have a pajama kernel and I have an ETO. What's each features? So, a 90 gallon sump will probably be around 40. I would like to have about. Okay, so I run a 120 gallon tank with a 30 gallon sump, or 40 gallon sump, and a 30 gallon auto top off reservoir. I use the Coral Box A100 because per cost per features. It's got a safety shutoff on it. It has an electronic eye for the water level itself. It works fairly well. I have had no real issues with it. I think even Tina's Reef here has one, as I recall. I helped her set hers up. And the pump is rock steady. It's nice and strong, and it's not prone to siphoning. And I also set mine up so it goes up and over, right? So I have it come in on an angle and come into the holder, so that actually, if the water level were to raise above it, it wouldn't siphon up. It would take a lot of work to do that. Oh, I'm going to watch the video now that I know. Is the video up? I'm going to bet my notifications got turned off again for that. That happens to me constantly here for some reason. So,
yeah,
always
Lawrence,
double check.
I would say minimum of 10 gallon.
Yeah, 10
minimum
gallon.
10 gallon. I run 5 gallon on my 75 with a 25 sump, and that lasts me about 4 to 5 days. So I would definitely say for a little bit bigger, a 10 gallon, even if it's just a 10 gallon aquarium, or if you can pick up a, you can get ATO containers, you can build one.
Yep.
You know, there's multiple options for that.
Yeah, like I used a water container, potable water container.
Yeah. The U-lines, you can get the U-line containers, which is just the smaller version of the, like you see these guys have the big water drums, or the LFS have the big water drums. U-line makes them down to a 15 gallon. I actually have a 15 gallon one that I got secondhand that I'm cleaning and conditioning right now, because it was used for soda. It was used for Dr. Pepper. Syrup.
Yes, syrup. Yep.
So, you know, it's just a constant soak and bleach, dump it, soak and bleach, dump it, soak and bleach. It's almost worth, if you're looking at that size, just to buy a new one, about $50, I think.
Yep.
Just to save the headache.
And yeah, so evaporation is going to depend where you are. So in the summer, you would think you'd have more. I have more evaporation in the winter because of the direct heat in the house, because I'm in Canada, so the heat's on all the time. It depends on a lot of factors. So you have to know your own tank. But generally, I find that a 20-gallon reservoir is a good idea because that gives you time to make more water. But you can get away with 10. I have a 10-gallon on my 20-gallon tank, and that 10 gallons lasts me 2 weeks, 3 weeks. But my 30 gallons will last me about 2 weeks, depends, because my 120 evaporates much more. Yeah, so.
Yeah, it all depends on your tank size and your surface area. Because if you had a like 120 cube versus a regular 120 versus a 120 low boy, the cube is going to have the least. The regular 120 is going to be next.
And then the low boy is going to really
the low boy is going to have the most evaporation because of the surface area. But yeah, so the coral box Craig has is good. I run the JBJ, which is just 2 float switches. But some people say, "Oh, float switches, you know, salt creep and snails," and I don't have snails that can get into that part of the sump where it is.
Nope.
I'm in the tank often enough where it cleans. And what I actually did was I attached my ATO. Oh, hold on.
He's got work. But yeah, there's ways to deal with salt creep, right? You know, make sure you're not rinsing it off with salt water. Number one, I love that one. Watching people rinse something in their sump with salt water thinking they're getting rid of the creep. You just added to it. You don't realize you did, but you did. So have a little bit of RO and a turkey baster, and rinse it off, get it all off there, that kind of thing. So yeah, there's some options. I like the ATO. He likes the JBJ. The Smart ATO one is pretty cool. I'm not sure I like the form factor, but some people swear by them. But the pump is the big part, right? And I do like the Coral Box's pump. I've seen that working with Kalkwasser, no problems. I never bind up, so.
All right, real quick, and then I have to go get this barge disconnected.
Yeah, and I'm cutting off here shortly, so.
The Coral Box, the JBJ, Michael and Paul like the Smart ATO, which is about $150. And then a lot of people go with the Tunzi osmolator.
Yeah, the 3155.
Yeah, the Tunzi is rock solid. You can't go wrong with it. It's $200. I went with the JBJ because my tank's a little more on a budget, and I got it for about $80 at an LFS, which is about $80 online. What does the Coral Box run, Craig? About 100?
100. I think here in Canada they're running about $120 now.
Yeah.
But that's everything you need except for the container. So, yeah. And the Tunzis over here are cost prohibitive. They're like $300.
Yeah.
But they're the gold standard. So
you'll have to get on one day and talk with us, and where we can go a little more in depth into what you're running and what you plan on running.
So there you go. And Tina just said in the States you're talking 129. So
for what?
Coral Box is available over in the UK. I can hook you up. I actually know people that can hook you up.
So. 129 for what?
For an A100. coral box.
Okay. All right. I'll catch y'all later. I got to go.
Sounds good. And I'm going to cut the stream down today, guys. There we go. I've been over 2 hours. So that's my general rule of thumb these days is going to be about 2 to 3 hours. I have, things I got to do too. So I'm going to let it go. I'm going to talk to you all later. And Reef Community Worldwide, I'm sure will be up. And if they're not, and I notice they're not, I'll get on. I will run 2 a day if I can. All right. So you guys have a great day. Later, taters, and happy reefing, folks. Take care.